Hello, hello. Welcome to a brand new podcast in the email marketing world. The very first episode of
Very first.
Klaviyo Geeks. This is Bogdan, founder of Email Kong, email marketing agency based in London. And I'm here with my very good friend, Omar.
Hey, hi guys, this is Omar. I'm founder of Polaris Growth, also an email marketing and CRO agency based in the Netherlands. And yeah, we're starting this new podcast, and I think we've been talking about this for quite some time already.
We have,
So-
yeah. I think people are definitely going to want to know, in a world where everyone has a podcast,
Yeah,
why are we doing this, Omar?
for me, I think one of the most important things, if I look at, I don't know, the last 2 years, we just started a Klaviyo meetup here in Amsterdam. I think some 8 months ago, or it's 9 months ago, a monthly meetup. And the main reason for me to have that meetup was basically that every time I start talking with people, no matter their experience about email marketing, marketing automation, specifically also Klaviyo, we end up spending a lot of hours going in many rabbit holes and things that you could do, sharing new information, new insights. So at a certain point, it's like, okay, I think there's an opportunity there to bring people together and share insights together. And for me, the main reason for this is something similar, just to share maybe creative new ideas or other ways of doing things the way that I do things, and hopefully inspire other email marketeers in the world to look at things in a different way, or maybe get some new ideas, or maybe depending on, I don't know, if you're just starting out, because looking at the turn up we had at the meetups, and you've been to two of them actually.
I have, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely agree with what you just said. Like I was at the first one. I actually been at the three of them.
All right, three, yes.
Yeah. I'm a huge guest star there. Everyone is.
Yes.
But I think to kind of add to that, it was a similar thing where, for the longest time doing what I've done with Klaviyo and email marketing, you have a bit of at least I do, you've been in it for a long time. You have a bit of an imposter syndrome. Like, do I actually know what I'm talking about? And coming to these events in Amsterdam and, kind of like helping you run some of those groups that we do, it was interesting to see how many people actually took their notebook to take notes. And then, like, you have some people looking at me like, oh, wow, I've never thought about that. Look, let me pull out my phone. I want to take a quick note of that. And it's kind of like, it just told me like, okay, well, I do know what I'm talking about. Like, these people actually do find quite a bit of inspiration in the weird stuff that I'm talking about regarding Klaviyo and the daily struggles I have with it. And I think when, I came to you and I told you like, dude, I think we would crush it with a podcast. Cause
Yeah.
it just gives us an opportunity to expand our reach. Obviously, the meetups in Amsterdam, they're great, but they're just in Amsterdam, and people can come from abroad if they want to. But a podcast, if we do it right, and hopefully we stick to it to publish at least a few episodes, we can reach anyone in the world. And as you said, there's a lot of email marketers out there. Klaviyo is a huge company. They have a lot of brands, and more people are getting into it. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to deep dive into it.
Yeah, and I think that, the more I was thinking about it, it just brings me back to when I started out, both in email marketing, with my background a little bit. I'll cover a little bit of that later. But when I started, basically, there's like this journey you go through. You start doing things and you see some results and stuff like that. And you get inspired and you start doing new things. And then after 3 years, you look back, it's like, okay, man, all these mistakes that I made or assumptions that I made that, even spraying around with discounts. Oh, that works. Oh, it really works. And seeing the results, and then going back and understanding, oh, wait, but results like discounts also eat into margins, understanding businesses better, or even, you probably have had that too in the beginning. Like with automations, creating flows, you start looking, we can create all these conditional splits, and you end up with an email flow that has like 15 splits, goes really deep into being really specific, and then in the end, like five people have received that email in the last 3 months. It's like, okay, all that work for nothing, and it doesn't turn into any results, like tangible results. So yeah, all those learnings, and all the people that are starting, I would like hope that this podcast also helps them fast pace, fast track, using Klaviyo in a better way, actually. So
I think we're gonna. This is more of an introduction episode. We kind of want to just cover what this podcast is going to be about. We're going to cover a few things Klaviyo related. We're going to talk about a bit about kind of how Omar and I started together, and we go way back. But one of the first topic I wanted to talk about is kind of
can I just pause you for
Yeah,
one
yeah,
second?
yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast, for us it's just speaking to a microphone at this point, looking at our screens and looking at the camera, but also recording it on with videos at this point. But I wanted to just reach out to you if you're listening to this. Thank you for listening, first of all. I do hope, like I said, it inspires you. But this is also a journey. So probably if you're listening in, you're also trying to find out creative new ways of doing things. So I would just want to congratulate you on just going out and trying to find out new information. Hopefully, this will actually be the place that helps you be better at what you do. So, and probably many of our friends or other, I wouldn't say competitors, but friendly other agencies, hopefully also listening in. So if you are, thanks for the support. Hit a like, hit a comment, or leave some feedback behind that we can also use in the upcoming podcast. But I just wanted to, take a moment to also congratulate all the people that actually take the time to listen to this, because, we do put some time into it, and we, hopefully help you fast track some of the things or come up with some new creative ideas to help you in your email marketing career.
Very well said. Yeah, a bit of gratitude moment for sure, for everyone listening.
Well, when we started, this didn't exist. Basically, we had to invent the wheel.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, lots of people listening in. Hopefully, lots of people are going to be, inspired. I think one of the first things we wanted to cover was just a bit about kind of going back to these Amsterdam meetups, which again I found them very, very inspiring. Was there's a lot of there's a conversation that I had yesterday actually at one of the Amsterdam meetups. Because, by the way, we are right now in Amsterdam. We're recording the first episode in Omar's land.
In Omar's land, yeah. I'm the king of the Netherlands.
You should trademark that, Omar's land. That sounds cool, man. But so this this girl, she was asking me, is like, there's so much Klaviyo information out there, and I'm just lost. I don't know what's correct. I don't know what to follow. And I thought, oh, this is an interesting kind of thing to talk about, because that's sort of hopefully also why we're doing this. There's 6,000 plus agencies out there. There's probably even more freelancers. There's so many courses, so much information. And I guess one topic to cover is how do you actually get better at Klaviyo? How do you get better at email marketing? And so, Omar, I wanted to ask you, is how was it your journey of kind of like going through understanding Klaviyo and becoming who you are now and having an email agency and whatnot?
Well, that journey started way before Klaviyo, actually. So I think back in 1998, I actually started building websites as a side gig, getting some money doing that. I continued doing that for a long time. At a certain point, I noticed like, okay, wait, we're creating new designs every time. Does this have any business impact? That kind of like rolled me into CRO as well. But in the meantime, I also had my own ESP. I think back in 2010 or something, called Sandmail, which of course the Dutch here have all these windmills. So Sand and Mail was like the cool name that I came up with. It was interesting just running a platform, making sure that all those email servers are sending out the right emails and not getting blacklisted and everything. It was way easier probably as well. But I started looking and seeing that like email marketing had could have a big impact if implemented right. And I might have been scratching the surface. MailChimp was a big thing back then. So it was really hard to compete against them. So I stopped with that, fully focused my attention on the CRO side, the online persuasion, the psychology, the buying psychology of things. And I think it was around 2017 or 16 that I got introduced to Klaviyo by I wouldn't say a good friend of mine, acquaintance of mine who is Drew Sanoki. I think a really bright mind on how to run businesses. I think in an online course he shared some of the things he was doing with Klaviyo. I was like, okay, this is the first platform that actually is bringing in data, like real sales data, back to the email to better understand what's actually having an impact and what's not. So I think for me, it just started out of curiosity, like building out the first flows and automations and kind of like, okay, what can we do with this? And then back then you didn't even have pop-ups. So you had to use external tools to create pop-ups and stuff like that. But for me, it's more been a curiosity approach. Oh, what else can I do? And of course, I was freelancing a lot. Companies were hiring me to do CRO, but I noticed that like with half amount of time, I was having more impact with email. So I started including the email side of things as well. First, as an advice, guys, you're leaving money on the table. You should actually set up some cart abandonments, like these things on understanding the customer journey. Basically, like there are places where people are leaving information behind or showing that there's intent to do something and then they're stopping. So there's a way to recapture that and get people back. And they were like taking my advice, written down nicely on a report, and I basically that went to the drawer. The drawer got closed, and that got me frustrated as well. Like, okay, why are you not doing anything with this? It's like you're leaving money on the table.
That's as a consultant, right? Like
yes.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, for me, it's also about delivering impact. So I started doing it. So I basically, you know what, we're gonna add Klaviyo. I'm gonna build out these emails, and it's actually a curiosity approach. So I basically started doing the things myself, like the things that I said in the introduction, all the going really wild and having tons of splits in emails. I made most of those mistakes as well. Discounts, they work really well, but in the end, the companies also start complaining about profitability and stuff like that. So, like, there are a lot of learnings in that, but curiosity is, I think, the one part for me that actually led my discovery of things. And of course, the way that we've met, Bogdan, you know that I've also really geeked out on all the cool things that you could do, like being really specific and creating your own email templates with like not using the defaults that Klaviyo is giving. Like nowadays, there's so much more things that Klaviyo built in to make it easier. Like really going with Django scripts and stuff like that. Back in the days, you had to know what HTML, CSS, like all these things are. And nowadays, you still do sometimes, but Klaviyo made it much easier to. The barrier to entry is much lower than it used to be.
It is. That's why we have so many experts as well. But I want to go back to what you said about curiosity, because I think that's if it's a good like first lesson on this first episode, of the podcast is be curious. Because I quite love that, because that's what I tell my team as well all the time. Like to learn more about e-commerce, email marketing, you just have to be curious. You have to ask questions. You have to look at things critically. And like if you see things that are done in a certain way, ask yourself, like, why are we doing it this way and not another way? And could we be doing it better? Like I remember, when Omar and I worked together, I think we would spend hours on a Zoom call literally doing just that.
It was geeking out sometimes. Not always the most productive, but
well, it was on your money, so
maybe do a quick intro about you as well. Like, how did you get started, and like how? Talk a bit about how we got to know each other.
How we got to know each other. 100%. So, I've been in marketing since 2017. Definitely not 1997. Did you say 1997?
Yeah. 1998. Yeah.
1998. Okay. But I started in 2017. I started in sales for an events company, and I was selling event tickets. And my dream was always to work in marketing. It was what I wanted to do, and I pushed for it as much as I could to the marketing director at the time. And he offered me this marketing assistant position. I remember my first role, my first task in that was to work with MailChimp and to create email campaigns to invite people to get these free tickets to events. And it was quite funny, actually, just to kind of quickly mention that, is that what we were doing is that we were building the templates in MailChimp, but because MailChimp at the time was too expensive, we were actually exporting the templates into a different ESP that was a lot cheaper. And we were kind of like, imagine building the emails in Klaviyo, exporting it as HTML, and then sending it to something that's a bit cheaper. So that was quite interesting. Definitely don't do that. So yeah, and then I kind of just worked up the ladder. I got more and more curious about email marketing. I thought it was fascinating. I got very much into data, and I remember working with like 1,000 different spreadsheets, because at the time you didn't have a tool like Klaviyo, or maybe it was, but I didn't use it to do cool things with it. And eventually I got into marketing automation, and when I moved to London, and to kind of make a long story short, during the pandemic, I decided to do freelancing, and I was doing a lot of jobs on Upwork. And one beautiful sunny day of spring, I think I got a message from, I think it was Omar. Yeah, it was. Was it you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he needed a Klaviyo expert, and I was in no way a Klaviyo expert, but I definitely sold myself as one.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah.
And I told, I remember in my profile said that I had a lot of years experience, and Omar was like, "Oh, cool, man! Like, so many things that you'd be perfect for us." And then, I did an email template for them for, by the way, Polaris Growth at the time as well. Like, I think it's when you guys sort of first started, and I just worked with Polaris for about 6 or 7 months, and they liked the test project that I did, and at one point I was managing all of your clients, and it was great. I learned a lot.
Well, for me, the same thing. I mean, even though you said you just started, you did have a good feel for design. Also, how do you communicate with people? How do you create a storyline? That's also something that I found that when doing email marketing, even if you're not the best copywriter out there, if you have either someone in a team or yourself, if you are a good storyteller, I think it's really helpful to create that, or have that thought in your brain. Like, how do I connect with the people? How do I talk to the customers? Like, what do they want to hear? How do I create some storyline, or being able to express that a little bit as well? Because in the end, you're sending emails, you're looking at numbers, open rates, click rates, stuff like that, and even on the CRO side, we're also looking at data, like how many people visit the website. You look at numbers, but in the end, those numbers also represent potential customers, real people with their own story, their like with their own lives, with all things that are happening in their lives as well. So being able to relate to that person is really, I think, a good trait to have. Or if you don't have it, if you're more a technical person and you don't have, not to say that technical people don't have that.
Careful,
I need to be careful what I say. But basically, if you have somebody like that in your team, or if you have like that was a trait that you had that also inspired me. Like, if you're able to articulate the things really well, that also helps within the whole storytelling for customers.
That's actually a nice thing to cover. Actually, we have a lot of people probably listening, hopefully listening, that are Klaviyo marketers working for brands or other companies. We have people that may be working in agencies. We maybe have agency owners, freelancers, whatever, right? So you've been part of an agency. You've had your own ESP. Now you run an email marketing and CRO agency. What's the number one advice you would give to people in handling and communicating well to clients or to bosses, to managers? Like, how would you, describe your experience in kind of, as an email marketer, to set the expectations right, to communicate results right? Like, obviously we work with clients and we know the struggle of doing that. So what would you say is a good advice there?
That was not in our script of questions, but
We're going off the script.
don't worry. I think it's fine. I think that's also the format. Try to be a bit open that we can also uncover some rabbit holes if we get into rabbit holes in these discussions. But I know talking with either your peers or not your peers, basically your maybe your manager, or maybe if you're working with clients in an agency. I think the most important thing is to have a good understanding of what are they looking for. Most of the times, what I sometimes see happening is that you start talking about all the things that make you really excited, but if it's not the same things that make I don't know, either the owner of a company of the business or the marketing manager you're talking to excite, if it doesn't excite them or is not the main thing they're looking at, all your excitement, it might not resonate with them. If you start like sharing all numbers, that open rates, click rates, if they cannot relate to that for their own goals, like what are the main things they're looking at. So having an understanding what their main KPIs, main drivers, what is important for them, and maybe even understanding, hey, like the work that we do, how can we help you if it's if it's a company you're working with, like if you're working with a marketing manager or e-commerce manager, like what are their goals and how can you actually help them reach their goals. So if it's something that kind of ties into their personal goal and you're able to help them reach those goals also within the company, I mean, it makes them look good, especially if they had to hire you as an agency or freelancer or within a business as well. If you're able to showcase value and that drives value for them as well, especially if it's, I don't know, maybe they're really aiming for that bonus at the end of the year and they want to buy a new car. If you can now show, hey man, I think we're gonna help you reach that car, and then like tying that message you're trying to bring across to their end goals will help
to bring a bit of a narrative, sort of say. Yeah, I remember when I used to work with you at Polaris. I remember one thing that I learned from you and your co-founder at the time was this cool thing they used to do with clients, where you say like, okay, if we say that today the present is point A, and the future, after we would have worked together for like 6-12 months, is point B. How does point B look like, right? And that helps you sort of uncover, whether it's a client or whatever, like what they're actually looking for. And it's really it's really interesting to not give them too many details and to let them figure out what is point B for them, because then you'll see exactly what direction they're going into. Are they going to focus mostly on email marketing? Are they going to focus on other business goals? And then you can kind of use that to your advantage to frame whatever the plan that you have for them to be a bit more relevant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the things I like in normal sales calls nowadays. I intrinsically do this. Like it is, I want to understand what their goals are. Like most of the times, okay, we have grown with 20-30% the last years, so we want to grow with 20% this year, or we want to do additional things this year. And then for me, it's good to understand like what levers are they going to pull to grow their business. So I don't know, are they going to invest more in marketing? Are they going to invest more in SEO? So why are we having the conversation? And if we're going to be collaborating together, how can I make sure that whatever we're doing is aimed at the same goal? Because if we're aligning to the same goals, that's something that we're bringing value to that business. So on one hand, it's growing through the work that we do, but on the other hand, I also see there's value in a lot of the companies we work with. Like the main problems we're seeing most of the time, or hearing a lot of times, is lack of time, resources. Time, people, money sometimes as well, to be able to do the things right. And you have the person doing email marketing, but it's also doing social media, it's also doing, it's trying to keep the website running, and also adding new products and transcription. Like they are so busy that they don't have time to really think about strategy and stuff like that. So sometimes just adding an additional person or maybe an agency that kind of like takes work out of their hands also is valuable in the sense that they don't need to hire a complete full team because that's probably not.
No, and you know what? It's really expensive. Like having, if you're even, no, I would say 7-figure brand per year, running a proper email marketing program, I know it's a bit of a cliche thing because it's been said a billion times now, but it is a full team. Like you need the strategist, you need the designer, you need a copywriter, you need someone that can understand data, or you need someone that hopefully understands all of them. And like I was chatting with this brand yesterday at the Amsterdam meetup, and they had 4 people in their Klaviyo team, and I was like, wow, that's interesting, and they're all juniors, so that also didn't make sense. But I think that's why hiring someone that kind of has been doing this for a long time might be becoming quite useful, especially with how many new things Klaviyo is dropping that even we actually have to do work to catch up. And yeah, it's an agency or someone with more experience can definitely help you bring that channel to a level that you deserve or you need to have, as opposed to having someone that does social media and maybe sends a quick campaign on a Thursday morning just to kind of get an email out. But then because Klaviyo is not just about sending emails, right? Like it's so much more than that, and I guess that kind of brings us quite nicely into the next topic of like Klaviyo's mission and new statement of being the CRM for B2C, because that kind of takes them away from being just email marketing, right? And I think you mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, I think Klaviyo is like I don't know who said this. I think it was us at a meetup actually, that a tool shouldn't take strategy by its nose. You should actually have a strategy and then look at what tools actually help to be implementing that strategy. But I think the new positioning of Klaviyo is really interesting. But I think I need to zoom out a little bit and make a sidestep. In the end, it is about the customer journey, and it begins with a marketing message like a promise you're making in an ad somewhere, maybe on some landing pages. People come and like there's a promise there. People then buy a product, and from the product, if they get the results that they want, they'll probably like it, maybe hopefully come back and stuff like that. So there's a customer journey that's happening: pre-purchase, post-purchase, maybe churn or not churn. And it's about trying to improve the I would say experience of those customers in the whole customer journey. I think that new positioning of Klaviyo and the way they're focusing their attention and also the products they're bringing out is really tying into how can we do better for the customers of our customers. So basically, the clients that are using Klaviyo, the businesses that are using Klaviyo, how can we help them do better for their customers? And I think that's a nice thing. Like the positioning, I think it just makes sense because Klaviyo is more and more becoming that unified hub in the middle. Of course, it's not making the ads and stuff like that, but it can definitely also with the integrations with all the ad platforms help you to do better and maybe target better as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you mentioned something yesterday about Klaviyo kind of doing so much and kind of simplifying. Well, they're not simplifying actually, but like they're adding so many features that they're actually making agencies or freelancers a bit like, well, what are we gonna do? But I want to add to that I'm gonna go on the opposite end. I'm gonna say that Klaviyo is becoming such a beast of a software, and I see this every week when I chat with brand owners, where it's like, yeah, I install Klaviyo, but man, like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Like, there's so many tabs, there's so many things that you can do: campaigns, flows, marketing analytics. Like, people don't know where to start and they don't know how to best use it. So I feel like Klaviyo is doing more and more and more. Now they have the customer hub and the marketing analytics and the KDP, and like, you need someone that has been doing it for a while to kind of put a clear map for brands and be like, hey, this is how you want to use it. So I feel like the more Klaviyo is going to expand its reach on and tool features and whatnot, the more agencies are going to be needed to create that clear sort of guidelines or map, whatever you want to call it, for brands or Well, yeah, for brands in general. So anyway, I think it will propel great agencies that focus deep on consultancy and research and knowledge and expertise, as opposed to kind of like agencies that are like, oh yeah, we'll build you a nice fancy email design and that's it. But
I don't know. I think that in a way, Klaviyo with I think the direction they're heading um, wants to make it more autonomous, or at least the barrier to start lower by giving advice, giving tips. Hey, you can put this live, you can do this, and start using AI to basically advise companies. But indeed, on the other hand, once you are past a certain basic setup and configuration, or even maybe it's a lot of these things that become really overwhelming. Like you have 1,000 things you can do, and we're still in the introduction podcast here, so we're generalizing a bit. We're
are
not
we
going,
though?
we're not going in depth on specific topics, but like the features that are bringing out is also about making things easier for people, and to start with email marketing in an easy way. And I think that that's one thing that, um, yeah, I'm not sure if agencies will be out of work, but some of them that are maybe cookie cutter approaches and copy paste clone kind of work will have a bit of a difficulty there. But at a certain point, I mean, it is overwhelming. You're getting advice left and right. So how do you decide what to choose, which options to choose, where to put your money or your time in? I mean, even with the marketing analytics starting to use RFM, like all these new tools that are available, which it took me, well, it didn't take me so much time to really understand RFM. But once you start going into that rabbit hole, understanding what RFM stands for and how it can help you segment, try to understand how people move like through those segments, and be more tailored to your best customers, the churning customers. That's like a complete new world that needs a different approach than just sending out campaigns. So there definitely, I mean, it opens up tons of new opportunities to do better, but it also increases the knowledge that you will need to take it a step further as well.
Very well said, man. This gets me hyped for some of the things that we can go into in the future. So I guess kind of moving from there, because we are at the 30-minute mark, I'm noticing. Let's just kind of talk a bit, sort of like towards a wrapping session. What's next for Klaviyo Geeks? So I think people are going to want to know what they can expect. What can we cover in future episodes? And I kind of want to. Well, I'll start by giving a bit of a setting the stage of what I think this podcast will be. I think if you probably noticed, like we winged it today. Like we didn't we prepped some notes, but really we kind of were just chatting. We probably yeah, like we do this, like we go for a coffee and then we kind of just end up talking about all these kind of geeky things. But I think what I would like this podcast to be, however long we're gonna be able to have it, is just a casual conversation, between Omar and I. And I think him and I we get along really well, and we always go into these type of topics, and we kind of wanted just to, well, we might as well record it. So we're gonna cover anything and everything, and I think we're really lucky that Omar has the Amsterdam meetups where he gets a lot of feedback of what people actually want to hear about. There's a mix of very basic things that people want to learn about Klaviyo, very advanced things that people want to learn, and I think that's what we're gonna do, and we're not gonna do it in a you're watching a course type of thing where it's like step one, go here, step two. It's gonna be more of an abstract sort of like, kind of giving you our tips into it. Maybe we're gonna go into like deeper things like, actual practical advice. But anyway, Omar, how do you see this podcast moving forward?
Part of what you're saying, but I also have a couple, like there are a couple of topics that I'm really that really motivates me. That gives me a lot of energy. Specifically talking about the customer value optimization, or talking about like doing proper research and talking to your customer, stuff like that. Being more adding qualitative data in the whole whatever we're doing, retention marketing or part acquisition, like understanding your customers better. That's something that I think will set most companies apart from others. So that's one topic that I'm really hyped about, and I think this is going to be, especially with all the AI coming out, right? Like in the last years, and it's going at a really, really, really fast pace at this moment. Trying to be more, I don't know, bringing the customer's voice back into things, understanding who your best customer. Like this is one thing that I hope we can get to talk about more often. And I already wrote a couple of like blog posts also on the Klaviyo blog, by the way, on this topic, and more coming out as well. That's one thing I'm really hyped about. Helping people to like being able to create strategies or prioritize, like adding priorities to what you're doing to understand, okay, if there are 20 things that I can do, what should I choose? How can I look at things? And like there's like some sort of like in my head I see a pyramid picture, like it's there's I don't know, a bit of a way to look at data and look at things and understand, okay, this is how this impacts, or how these elements impact each other, to understand what has bigger impact, what doesn't have impact, to get people into understanding these things, to be able to make quick decisions on, oh wait, we want to segment this, but we end up with 100 people. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like understanding some of these basics that took me some time to learn, but now it's becoming second nature. That allows me to really say, okay, you know what, this is like, there are 20 flows that we can put up or 20 things we can do, but these ones actually are going to be driving more impact compared to the other ones. And also having that discussion, maybe like something like adding reviews. Not something that's going to bring money right away.
No.
It's going to be an investment. You have to pay a tool. You need to make sure that the emails go out, that people start replying to that and leaving reviews. But after some time, after 6 months, this actually becomes something valuable. It's now social proof. It can help people answer questions that they actually have about products. So when do you start doing this? Like where do you put it on a timeline to focus on these things? So helping people to get some sort of a framework to make better decisions. That's like these kind of like nuggets that are evergreen and not so much about one specific campaign, but things that you can apply to multiple parts in business. Or like, I hope that like in the next podcast we get to talk about those things a bit more, and also adding some cool guests to our show.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we didn't say, but we will definitely have guests as well. Like, it's not just going to be the two of us all the time. We have a good network of cool people that are doing either Klaviyo or CRO or just overall e-commerce. So brand owners, agency owners, I think we have
We've got like loyalty tools, or like also a couple of like tools I'm really fond of, that I think makes sense to add to your tool stack, basically. Like those things we can, we'll see.
And we can cover all of that. I think this is a great thing to kind of tell everyone listening that, we will kind of give a lot of, because running an agency, it's all about structure and prioritization, and you have to know what you want to build for that client. So, we can give a lot of guidance on that. Maybe we can even have downloadable resources and whatnot. Like, we'll be able to clear out a lot of that fog in terms of what to work on. Let me tell you, kind of like listening to Omar now is like, sometimes, we jump on a quick call, or like maybe he sends me a WhatsApp message, and it's really funny because like he sends me all of these insane breakdowns of customer journey, and is like, what do you think about this? And I'm replying to him like, holy, like, Jesus, man, like, this is great. Why are you not talking about this? And he's like, yeah, you're right, I should. And then he just goes post it on LinkedIn. So it's like, I feel like for everyone listening now and knowing Omar, it's going to be a great opportunity to get a lot of his brain uploaded into a recording. And it's quite interesting to hear sometimes.
Well, thanks. Well, good to have a platform to do that. And for me, it's also about, over the years, a lot of people have helped me on many things. So I hope I can like pay it forward, inspire somebody to do something different today, or do something new today as well. So with that, I think the one thing, getting AB, one of the founders of Klaviyo, on the podcast.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
That's something that I hope for as well down the line. But Yeah, that's good to have some ambitions. Yeah, definitely.
But I guess do we want to cover anything else, or do we want to go into wrapping this up, Omar?
I think we have enough for today. The next, like we can cover like the new things, things that Klaviyo came out with, but probably will be old news in half a year. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to be really fast publishing these. But yeah, so I guess thank you for everyone listening. We don't know yet where this is gonna go. It's probably gonna be on sort of Spotify and stuff like that. We'll probably go on LinkedIn. So wherever you're watching, listening, thank you. As Omar said in the beginning, it means a lot to us. We're just starting this and we're really excited about it. That is a wrap for episode 1. If you are a Klaviyo geek, please don't forget to follow Omar, follow me, follow the podcast on whatever platform you're watching. Hit like, comment, whatever. Just show your support. Say hello. You can even email us if you want. We're always available, always free to clear up any questions that you might have. And that's about it. Thank you so much for listening, Omar. Any final words?
Yeah, definitely. Like, comments, of course, but for me, the one thing that always sparks my brain is getting also questions in. So if you have a question, if you've been struggling with one specific thing, feel free to either DM me. You can find both Bogdan and me on LinkedIn as well, or like comment on this podcast. Add your questions. We'll be going over anything that people leave behind to see, hey, is this something we can cover? Yeah, with that, I think it's more or less a wrap. Really looking forward to the second one.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, listening, episode 1. We'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.